Evening, Paul.
Good evening, Bill. How are you?
Good.
How was the rest of your afternoon?
Crazy. And it hasn't improved much.
Yeah. I wish I could say.
I'm on Chris's computer. I'm locked out of mine.
Oh, boy.
Can't get in.
Maybe I will stay and yell at her.
Good.
Misery loves company.
No, I don't have a Wi-Fi connection in here.
Yeah.
No.
I made a mistake,
Yeah,
and I'll tell her I made a mistake when I was typing this in.
where did I go to?
And then I'm going home,
Go to Wi-Fi.
Talk.
because I'm not gonna listen to her.
Shut up.
No, not to her.
Oh, no. She's
Gotta make a spectacle out of it.
Yeah.
Of course, we do.
Janet, Paul, hi. I have to apologize. Our last meeting at 6:30, there was a problem with the public getting in through Zoom from the Ashford side. So we'll recap what happened in the meeting during this meeting.
I didn't miss much because I didn't try to get in.
Okay, well, there's at least two other people that are involved with economic development. that wanted to be
I
in.
shouldn't say that. My wife may have tried to get in with my computer, but I know I was tied up, so.
Yeah, there was a problem with the password.
Oh, okay.
Catherine, for your information, I made an error typing in the Zoom link. So you can blame me, you can fire me. I apologize.
Chris, you know
Chris,
how Chris.
Excuse me, for the
Chris.
person who could not find the agendas on the website, I apologize. Good night.
Fine.
Okay, I've got 7 o'clock. All of the selectmen are in attendance. And item 3 on our agenda is hear from the public. Is there any public to be heard? Going once, going twice? Thank you all for joining us. And if there is a subject matter that we're discussing and a public would like to be recognized, please just raise your hand or whatever, and we'll certainly work it in somehow. Selectmen's briefing. We received a member equity check from Kerma this past week in the amount of $8,700 and $8,795, which will be deposited into the town's general fund. Much appreciation to Kerma for a job well done. We also received, Chris got in on the national opioid settlement link for us that we signed up for earlier this year. And we received the first installment of a settlement in that federal settlement of $1,750. I'm not sure how many others payments are going to be coming in, but we were told that was the initial one. That too is going into the general fund. As I mentioned at our last meeting, we did sell the 1992 fire truck And we received the check, and that's in the bank now for $12,500. We are paying a finder's fee and advertising fee. We advertise the truck nationally, we'll be paying that, but that $12,500 is also gone into the general fund. Want to let the general public know that there is extensive tree trimming, which is sponsored by Eversource through their contractor Asplin. It's going to begin before the end of this month. It's pretty much town-wide. Primarily, they're going to be going through taking dead trees out and branches or trees they feel are threatening electrical lines. And they're going to be doing this throughout. If you have some concern with trees in your areas or on your road, talking to the general public again, please call the Selectmen's office. We are doing a list just to remind both Eversource and the contractor of some priorities that we see. I'm advised this work will be done and completed before the end of November. So we look forward to that doing.
Bill, this is Catherine.
Yes.
When I met with Eversource last year during for the planning for this,
Yeah,
they indicated that their trimming process would take 9 months and it would be etched in stone at 9 months. So now it sounds like it's only going to be for what, 4 months? Do they indicate what the change was? Because they were pretty fussy about it before.
no, they have not. I know that I received a map from them and had brief
I have.
conversations with them earlier in the spring. And they said they were going to get to us. They had trucks in town working on another project, but this was the earliest they get in. They did not mention and I didn't see any contract or anything, 9 months, but I've
Oh,
just
actually,
got-
I met with their forestry person that heads their service. The other thing too is for the public that, if I understand correctly, and you have the map as well, is that the trimming that they're really looking at is in the all but the very southwestern part of town. Unless we have specifics in that area, because they already did that part.
Exactly. They told me that the map pretty much details where they work, but they also said, and I called their attention to a couple of things that have popped up since then. If we had particular areas, even in areas they've worked already, that they would revisit that. So we're going to try to hold them to that.
Were you trying to get in, John?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to interrupt. Just for the record, Bill, I believe you had said that all the selectmen are in attendance. Is Roger there in the room with you?
Roger is.
Okay,
right
thank
behind
you.
me.
We can't see you.
Thank you. I hadn't said for that for the record. Thank you.
We're crowded around Chris's computer here because we're having some technical problems with my computer. The last thing in discussions with the school superintendent last week, she advises me that delivery of the new oil tank is probably going to take up to a year. But that is in process, and she has checked with the insurance carrier for the tank, who has indicated, because we had heard earlier this year that they would not insure that tank because of its age past, I believe it was October 1st. And Cindy advises me that they've agreed to extend that as long as our pressure testing shows that the tank is not actively leaking. And I'm advised that the testing to date has indicated that there are no leaks.
Bill, are we paying in full for the tank at this point in time, or are we waiting until delivery?
We are not paying anything now until we sign a contract with the contractor.
Right.
And our reimbursement that Cindy is working on, the grant application, is at 63% reimbursement, whatever our costs are.
Right. What's time?
She has been securing more solid bids because we were going on estimates that Craig Kreller had submitted earlier. And I know that the Board of Finance and the Board of Ed have budgeted both through the capital non-reoccurring fund and also through the non-lapsing fund, a total of 270. Right now, we're anticipating it being in the area more of 220 to 225,000. So that's good news.
So when we
Oh,
think about
payments,
this
specific
contract,
payment schedules will not be completed until we pick a vendor and we sign that contract.
Okay.
Typically, Catherine, on these jobs, you pay 50% upfront and 50% at completion. I don't
I'm aware of
assume.
that.
Well, you asked a question I'm trying to answer.
Actually, I was looking for the timetable.
I
For the
don't
payments.
assume this will be any different from that.
Okay.
All right, that's all I have on my briefing right now. Going to item 5, acceptance of the minutes of our regular meeting of August 1st. I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion. So moved.
I'll second it.
Is there any comment or corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Our special meeting of August 3rd. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
We have a
I'll
motion
second.
on the floor that's been seconded. Any discussion, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you very much. Hear from boards, commissions, committees, or departments. Hear from boards, committees, or departments. Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Discuss reopening strategies, town facilities, update relating to the holding of board and commission meetings. The schedule is remaining the same as far as opening of the buildings and coordination of meetings. As you know, we had what I consider a very successful hybrid meeting that we were able to use our OWL, Pro OWL unit at our town meeting that we had the other night. And what I intend on doing is bringing in, with Mike D'Amato's assistance, our vendor, trying to set a meeting with all of our chairmen of our boards and commissions and whoever they might designate to come in to do an actual class of operations for the operation of the OWL unit, just to make everybody familiar with it. And hopefully we'll be instituting that with as many boards that want to take advantage of that as possible.
Bill, just to let you know, apparently, and the people did not keep talking about it during the hearing, but the two things happened. One, there were people that were not up at the podium speaking, and when they were at the podium, even Paul Varga, whose voice carries quite nicely, when he turned away, it muffled your voice, just to let you know, because I know you were looking at the people who were there. And Bill, also, when you push back your chair and rest, back, your voice becomes so muffled that they can't hear it.
On the
So
owl thing.
I wanted to let you know that I got that feedback from people. And so just because we're all going to be learning as we go through this and how to make sure that everybody is well heard. And I know they couldn't hear Judy at all. So it's
thank
just
you very
something for us
much.
to become more
Yeah.
aware of the not only the camera, but certainly the sound quality.
Thank you very
Bill,
much for your.
My wife was one of the people who told me she couldn't hear me.
Well, that's new.
Was she happy with that?
That's not wife
So-
hearing, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's what
we
that's
got
what I
that at my
said.
house.
Yeah, no, she said the same thing, that when people were not pointing directly at the camera, it was a problem. So I think it was the room size. Normally on a smaller room, I don't think it would be a problem, but
I think it would
Yeah.
be muffled no matter what if they're turned away in any way. So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of us making sure that people get up there and that they face the camera and that everybody understands that's how it works. But other than that, I thought it was really successful.
Yes,
And
I
I
thought it
want to
was.
thank Mike D'Amato for all the work he did, not only getting this set up, but also all the work he did investigating prior to that, how we could, what we could put in place so it could work for our town.
Okay, I don't have any report from the Ashford Advisory School Building Committee. I know last I had spoken to Jim Rupert, their intention is to convene the committee right after school starts. But I also know that Cindy Ford and Jim have been working very closely on coordination of getting our ducks in a row for the numerous projects that are being looked at to be completed at the school. So they are working on it. I just don't have any report for our board at this time from that committee. Item D, update on the after-school children program as proposed by the Recreation Commission. I have some things to report to the board and of course to the public, but Dave Raston is here. I'm going to ask him, he's in the other room, and I want to ask him to come in.
Is that Raston or
David,
Boston?
Roston. He's the recent appointee that we made to the commission. He's been doing a lot of due diligence on this. Oh, and Sherry York snuck in. I'm sorry, I didn't see her here. Hi, welcome. I'm going to turn the floor over to you folks just to give an overview of how this started and from your perspective where you are, and then I'll join in on what we're doing from our end with coordination and everything. So.
Okay. How we started with this program was back in June's meeting. We had a recreation committee meeting, and we had a couple of parents from the town. They joined the meeting itself, and what they did was they requested to the Recreation Commission a after-school program similar to what was held during a couple of years ago with Vernon, and going back 20 years ago when Barbara and a few other people ran it at the Ashford School itself. One of the things that they presented to us was the need for the daycare after-school program. I want to stay away from calling it a daycare. It's an after-school program. And the reason for it is that there's only 2 daycare centers in town with only 4 to 5 children in each one. And from what we gathered, how it was presented at the meeting, there was numerous amount of people that were looking for daycare in town to send their kids to the program after school. A couple of the people who requested it were actually participants going back 20 years ago in Ashford School. They were participants, meaning that they actually went to the after-school program when Barbara ran it. I don't know Barbara's last name, but Redna, when she ran it going back 20 years ago. And some of these parents, as we call them, kids from past, but now they're adults with their own kids, they're actually looking for a similar program. The ratio, what we're looking for is a 10-to-1 ratio after school program. And it means is that for every 10 students that we're looking at for one person to oversee the children. The hours would be 3:45 in the afternoon until 6 o'clock. The reason for is,
3:15.
What time does school get out?
3:15.
Okay, fine. Okay,
3 to 6.
school gets out at 3:15. We're looking from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock to cover those times for the parents to come in to pick up the kids from there. No, I'm joking up.
Uh-oh.
But the idea, what we're trying to do is trying to provide a creative activities for the students afterwards, that develop some life skills for the students, and also give the opportunity for some of the students to complete their homework and also conduct other activities for the students, such as creative activities such as art, playground activities, and so forth. I can't right now, over the last few weeks, what myself and Sherry have done, we actually came up with a proposed budget of the program itself. The idea behind the budget is to provide a self-sustaining program. And what it means is that initially there shall be a cost to the program to start the program up, but the cost is going to be disseminated over a period of time, over a couple of months. And eventually, as the program goes and there's payments coming in from the after-school program, that the town would also be paid back the money that technically we borrowed or used, whatever definition you want to use. That's basically in a nutshell. That's the only thing I can look at right now. Budget wise, it's just we have set up a budget that develop is self-sustaining. We're still waiting for insurance rider cost, a monthly premium from the insurance company, see if there is one or if there's not one. The reason why we're waiting for it, because what we want to do is add the premium to the cost of the program. So again, that there's no cost going directly to the town itself, strictly a cost self-sufficient program itself.
I'm
Sherry,
sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
Dave, when do you expect to have the information about the insurance?
We're just waiting for the insurance company to get back to us.
That's kind of in my court. And
Yeah.
after Dave and Sherry get through, I'll give you an overview of what we've been handling from this office. Sherry?
Sure. My part of this, or my work with this, has been to explore other programs. And we did find that Mansfield and Coventry have both been running the program for many years. And so we have borrowed, this is mostly Coventry's program and policy book, and it's a parent handbook. And I just went through it today, kind of updating it and getting rid of what doesn't apply to us and changing it to Ashford after school program and putting in, our facilities and things. But the great thing about this is it covers almost everything you could imagine. Program information, the schedule, like we took Ashford's school schedule and figured out exactly what days it would run and what days it wouldn't run. The policies in here are very clear that if it's a snow day, there is no after school. However, if it is a half day or a teacher professional day, the program would run. We looked at all the holidays and all of that so that you can figure out exactly what days you'd run and what days you wouldn't. It covers everything about families and kids' schedule changes and how they need to let us know if they're coming, and how our running of the program would be dependent upon numbers of kids. And so if they had a schedule change, could we take them on a certain day? And it clearly spells out, if available, we would like to accommodate a family then, but you can't be guaranteed. If the program was already full with 15 kids in it for that day, I'm sorry, we can't take you as a drop-in. But all those kind of policies are really spelled out very clearly here. What you do with a sick kid or somebody who's not feeling good.
Sherry?
I looked at, yes.
Sherry, when will the selectmen receive what you've put together so that we can review it?
I actually just finished it about 10 minutes ago, Catherine, so I would be happy to leave a copy for you guys.
We'll make those a part of the minutes.
Okay,
You might want to, if that hasn't been finalized, approved by the commission, you might want to just stamp draft on it.
sure.
So nobody gets.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's a couple of areas that I highlighted in yellow that we haven't made a decision on. I think there was only two, a couple of things like staff. We obviously haven't attempted to hire yet. Oh, and then the last thing in here that's also is a sentence that says, this is again in the parent handbook, for a direct line to the program staff or to address schedule changes, report an early or late pickup, or to speak with your child directly, please call. And of course, we don't know the phone number yet of who would be right at the program, but that would be information we still need to fill in.
Who would
Uh,
oversee this program? Is this something that you're talking about coming out of the Rec Commission?
Yes. That's what we were thinking. There are other groups that could. I know Bill is considering, why doesn't the school run it? And that's really a very good question.
Well,
But
just-
right,
Who runs it in Mansfield and
Just-
Coventry?
Recreation Department.
Yes.
One other piece was mine. Dave asked me to look at, how would we use the time if the kids were there from 3 till 6? We broke it down and said from 3:15 would be snack and outside play. From 4 to 4:45 would be homework support and quiet play. From 4:45 to 5:30 would be group games and arts and crafts. And then 5:30 to 6 would be free choice and pickup time for the kids. And that's what our staff would be managing and overseeing. We, of course, would need some supplies for arts and crafts and games and balls and things for the kids to do to keep it fun and interesting. But we're very
Bill?
lucky to have Ashford School as a willing to host it. Because they have
That's-
cafeteria space, a classroom space, and then everything outside.
Bill, would this staff be employed by the town?
Well, one of the biggest challenges that I see of getting the program permanently in place and running smoothly is staff. This program, the year before COVID hit, was run by the YMCA out of Vernon.
Indian Valley Y.
And the reason that, and I had a discussion with one of the people with that organization at Vernon when we first got notice that they told us they were not going to be able to run it, was personnel. They were having trouble hiring people. Most of their source of staffing in the past, it was from the Vernon area. And between the low hourly rate that they were offering and the mileage, they just didn't want to take on something that they didn't feel they could feel real comfortable they could actually give 100% to, and that was going to be smoothly run. That's a challenge. I've had a brief discussion with the superintendent at the school, because as I've been talking to people, both town people and people from other towns, the first question I have posed to me is, well, why isn't the school doing this? And I ran that by Cindy, and she said, that was one of the things that crossed my mind when I first heard it. Although she is going to be doing some research, she understood there were some statutory requirements that were difficult for a Board of Ed to meet as compared to a private contractor. She's going to be researching that. With staff, one of the other things that we had talked, Dave and I had talked, because Dave is a former paraprofessional with the school, was we have paraprofessionals up there right now. And perhaps we could utilize them for the staffing. And I ran that by Cindy, because whoever we hire, we're going to have to do extensive background checks, which takes some time. We're going to have to make sure that they're qualified and check references and do everything we would do for probably more, because children are involved, for any staff that would be hiring. The existing paraprofessionals at the school already have all of those clarifications and credentials. At the point, if the statutory concerns that Cindy has can be worked out, my suggestion would be to encourage the school to run this operation. It's self-sufficient. They would approach the 23 or so paraprofessionals we have up there and see if they'd be interested in running this. And seems to me that it would just lend itself, because they're dealing with those children. I think Dave mentioned this would be for children from the 1st grade to the 5th grade. They're dealing with them on a daily basis as it is. They're familiar with them. If one of the children that are chosen has special needs, they'd be very familiar with that also, that could be addressed. As far as the insurance, Catherine and Roger, I've been talking with Kerma because I wanted to see what our umbrella covers or what additional coverages we may need. They came back to us with a half a dozen fairly easy questions last week. We've talked to 3 people at Kerma. They've got their underwriting department looking at it right now. I hope to get something in from them before, well, I'm hoping by either tomorrow or Wednesday to find out
I would
if there are dollars amount.
Okay, I would think that when it comes to our paraprofessionals, which I think is a great idea, that the paraprofessionals, they're under contract at the school. So that would mean that there would have to be something done either to their existing contract or another contract for those who would be working with this program.
I touched on that because I share that concern, Catherine. I didn't want to get into, contrary to any union commitments or anything. And
Yeah.
what I was told was they're only on contract until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this
Okay.
would have to, my guess is in order to be done from a bookkeeping perspective properly there'd have to be a separate set of books set up just for this program.
Would
both
there be
for-
anything regarding cleaning services as well? Because certainly a
Those-
bunch of
those
kids
are-
for
those
3
are
hours
sort
after
of the
school is.
nitty-gritty things that before we dive into this thing, I want to
Yeah.
make sure we're all on the same page. But that's exactly the sort of things that I think we need to hire out beforehand and that we're working on.
Do you have a
I know-
rough cut estimate, Sherry and Dave, as to the number of children we could end up with, a range?
Well, I projected out right now for the program is 15, but I'm shooting up to 25.
16 to 25?
Yes.
Okay.
And one of the problems with that, if I remember right, about 30 families originally came forward on this. And if you're gonna have to limit it for logistics or whatever, what's the selection criteria?
That was my next question.
Do you do it by lottery? And if Roger has 4 kids and I have 1, and Roger gets drawn in the lottery and only 1 of his 4 go, it's kind of not gonna do what the whole intention of this does. You don't need 4 more kids, Roger,
No,
but I'm
no.
just.
It won't help that family that much.
Exactly. So
They-
I really think, and that's all the reason, and I appreciate the due diligence that Sherry's been doing and Dave's been doing on that. We're trying to do as much because I think it's obvious there are outstanding questions here. And we need to make them, I don't want to learn by error.
Not with kids.
No, not at all. And things cross my mind. Well, if the parents happen to work in Hartford and there's a traffic accident that's tied up, believe me, I've run into that, and you too, would probably, Catherine, coming in, where they can't pick their children up at 6 o'clock and they end up being there till 7 or whatever. We need to have a plan on, and I know Sherry and Dave have been talking about this, but how do we address that? If we hired 3 people, say we didn't use the paraprofessionals, and 2 of them, thank goodness it looks like COVID's behind us, but a COVID type thing, 2 of them can't come in or 1 of them, how do we substitute? Because there's statutory requirements on how many people we have to have with the number of students we have up there.
Mhm.
So it's a complicated thing. I don't question the need for it. Frankly, I was shocked when I heard that there's only 2 or 3 daycare centers in town right now.
I think COVID changed the dynamics around that.
Yeah, but the need for it and I believe our desire to try to accommodate that need is sincere by all of us. But I just think it behooves us that we've got to make sure we do our due diligence on this and answer as
Did-
many questions as we can.
Did Cindy indicate when she would have an answer about the statutory requirements?
We talked late last week, Catherine, and there were a number of things we were talking about, but she said she would look into it. I didn't get an impression. She's got a lot of other priorities up there, but I will touch base with her tomorrow and see if she's got any
I would
information.
think one of the things she would have to do is talk with the Board of Education about it
That too.
before she even reached out to the
I
attorney.
know she's going to talk to the chairman and get a feedback now. Dave and Sherry did go to the Board of Ed 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
July
July, 6 weeks.
meeting, yeah.
Okay,
Like,
and expressed their desire to do this, and the Board of Ed did give an acknowledgement that it was worthwhile to pursue looking into. And in fact, using the school cafeteria as the resource for the housing on it, which they've
Which is
used.
where, yeah, right, right.
One thing that differs us from Mansfield and Coventry, somebody else I've also talked to look at legal aspects of this is our town council. But obviously Coventry has multi-schools, and so does Mansfield. They use a physical resource other than the schools. So
Mhm.
it differs a little bit. One of the rationales is that's why their rec commission is handling it instead of the schools considering it.
And this would only be for students who are, for actual students of Ashford School. It wouldn't be for an extra kid from a family that's not in school yet.
Not as
No.
it's designed. No, it's proposed, it only will be for enrolled students at the Ashford School between the grades of 1 and 5.
Thank you.
And there will not be any drop-offs at the program itself. So in other words, is that you have a child not going to school and you decide, hey, I want to take a break, you can't drop the student off at the after-school program. They have to attend school that day.
That makes
One
sense
thing
too.
that you posed that I do know the answer to from how the program ran before. The cafeteria and gymnasium was cleaned by the Ashford School custodians after 6 p.m. So.
Right, I would expect there'd be extra, some kind of an extra fee around that. That's quite a bit of cleaning. If this is being done every day and you've got that
Yeah.
many kids.
There may be, I don't know that from the past. But I do know that it was cleaned after and that was very convenient how that worked. The other thing with attendance and all of that, it does get quite complex because you might have 20 families that enroll, but they may only need childcare on 2 days 1 week and 3
Yeah.
days the next week. And this family may have 2 kids that need to be in 5 days, and this family may need just 1 or 2 days. So, you know, you need a grid to figure that all out and to know who's coming on which day.
And it just going back to a question you asked earlier, how are we going to determine which families? Based upon that is the individuals with me will be the individuals that have to have after school program for 5 days. I will prioritize those individuals at that point. The
In
ones
other
with
words,
5
you're saying those individuals would be a higher priority than the ones that are occasional.
single
or
day or double
frequent.
day.
Yes.
My concern also is for the longevity of the program. And I mean, it seems like that if we somehow can, get the school board and the school system to buy into this, then that would also improve the likelihood of the longevity of the program as well.
Right.
rather than trying to do it on our own.
I agree.
They were quite supportive in the past. You know, we said that, hey, after school's not happening from Indian Valley, we've been approached, would you support it if the rec department ran it? And they, of course, didn't just say, yes, of course. They said, let's explore it. Let's
Yeah.
see what's up with it. But yes, they were willing to offer their building and offer what they had offered in the past.
So one of the concerns that I heard from the school was that, not about this program, but about the basketball program, is there was some damage that was done in the gymnasium, kids unattended or whatever. And they were concerned about that when we were talking about starting up the basketball program again. So that's another thing too, is to make sure that the school is comfortable with how the kids are going to be managed.
I don't want anybody to have a misconception. I know I've been contacted through email and phone by a couple of parents expressing support of this. I don't see any way possible that we're going to be ready for this program by the start of school year. I just don't want to have anybody under a
Correct.
misconception.
No.
We're gonna, again, we're gonna do our due diligence on this and hopefully start it as soon as possible, but thinking that this is gonna start coinciding with the beginning of the school year, I'd be shocked. Hopefully, maybe I can be shocked, but if that comes to fruition, I think we're gonna be looking at a start date sometime after that.
I,
Best case
I do
scenario.
think it would be a valuable program, and especially since we know we have families that are hurting in terms of childcare here. And anything that's enrichment for the kids during those hours of 3 and 6 is a good thing. So I look forward to reading whatever you've got put together and hearing what our insurance company has to say and what the school has to say about it.
Now, my suggestion would be that, like what, similar to what Bill had stated, to meet with the school, a member of the school board, superintendent, the principal, to get their actual concerns.
Yeah.
Sit down with them directly over a table, as a group of us, place everything on the table. This is what we're doing, and have them share with us their concerns, or something negative or something positive. That'd be
Yeah,
helpful.
I'd make sure you had all your ducks in a row first,
Right.
so that you could respond to any issues around that you'd already have responses to, the insurance issues and also the statutory requirements from the education side.
I've had several meetings, both with Dave and Sherry. I've also had Melissa, our social service director, sit in, who's very supportive of this program. Chris has been in, we've been taking notes or whatever. And I think the more people that we can get into the circle and get input for proper coordination, the healthier it is. What I don't really, what I'd like is a motion from our board, similar to what the Board of Ed did, just indicating that we are interested in pursuing, researching this, and support it in theory.
Okay, I'll make the motion. Let me work on it a little bit here. I make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to approve the Park and Recs Department to work with the school and identify all aspects of the program for future consideration. For future consideration. I don't know what else to put in there. Do you have any advice? Friendly amendment? I need a second.
I
Emphasize our support for the
was thinking of
idea.
the concept.
Yeah, for the concept, and yeah, I think so moved.
There's a motion on the floor and second. I would just work in the word concept.
Yeah.
That we
Okay.
agree with the concept and the need.
Yep.
And that we all parties are thoroughly looking into it.
Mhm.
All right, so the motion would be, then it would be to research the concept. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
acknowledge-
friendly amendment, if I can do that. I have to have a second. It would be for the Parks and Rec to continue their research on the concept and work with the Board of Ed, school, Melissa, and anyone else needed to document and present the program.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion?
I would like to add something, Bill. One thing we were hoping to get from this to move forward for us, or what I think our next biggest hurdle is to figure out a little bit about staffing. Like, I know we can't interview and hire right now because we haven't figured out who's going to run the program, but can we put an ad out to see if we can begin to recruit some staff that might be interested, because that's gonna be our biggest hurdle.
Mhm.
We've got to find out if we've got some people in town, hopefully in town,
Or
that are
some of the
willing-
paraprofessionals.
some of the
Yes.
paraprofessionals, maybe a parent, somebody who would have an interest in this.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean we have to hire them. It just means we want to start to find out, is there staff? Everywhere we go, we hear how hard staffing is. Well,
I wouldn't do
about-
that. I wouldn't do that until you know how insurance is going to work and the, what is it, the statutory requirements.
So we got to.
You
Yeah,
can't
and-
really put an
and-
ad out for people if you haven't laid out what the job is and the fact that it could actually be viable.
And hear from our town council if they've got some things that
Right.
they may be looking at it from a legal perspective that we're not. But I'm
They
not
We
gonna
have a
close the
motion.
question right now, but
Okay.
we have a motion on the floors. On the
I'm
motion itself,
oh, I'm
are
sorry.
there any, no problem. Are there any additions or further comment? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Motion passes unanimously. I understand about the employee, but as Catherine had touched on, I think it's, but what I would ask you to do is start working on a description for the scope
yes,
of what we'll be advertising in
Okay.
draft form.
Job,
Yep.
yeah, job
Get-
description.
Right, job
Okay.
description, get that ready for us.
Okay,
And that's also something that we can run by our insurance and by our legal counsel.
Yeah.
And if the door opens where the school is comfortable in entertaining sponsoring this, they'd also have something to give to their paraprofessionals on what's going to be involved.
okay.
Okay,
I feel like there is some urgency with this,
Oh,
just that many families make a commitment for childcare for the school year.
Mm.
So for us to get this started in November and December, I can't tell you we'd have 30 families interested then.
Yeah.
Half of them may have made other arrangements
Yeah.
somewhere.
there's,
So,
the reality is you need to have the program well laid out before you bring it out to everybody. So if you're aiming for November, December, I wouldn't be as focused on that. People are going to do whatever they're going to do to get childcare for their kids. I know we've done the same thing in our past as well. So it's more important to make sure that you have laid out a viable program that is something that the school agrees to and that our attorney and our insurance companies agree to.
Yeah, I mean, we might have a bumpy start here, but ultimately we're looking at the longevity down the road as well.
yeah,
Yes.
I mean,
Could be
with
awesome.
our other contractors, basically, obviously from what happened with the folks that were running it this past time, we're year to year. I'm hoping we can set something in place that has no end date
Mhm.
to it,
Mhm.
that can be somewhat permanent.
Mhm.
I think that's dependent. But, you know, the most important thing here is we're dealing with a precious commodity, the children.
Mhm.
And between childcare and liabilities and everything else, we owe it to ourselves in the town to do, I think, do exactly what we're doing right now.
Oh, no, I agree with you 100%.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you folks for your effort and
I'm gonna leave a copy of
We
the
appreciate it.
projection of the budget.
excellent. Yeah. And what we'll do is we'll, if you could stamp that draft
Yes.
and Sherry, stamp your latest thing you composed there, draft. We'll also make it a part of our minutes.
okay.
Dave,
So-
Sherry, thank you.
So if the general public
Yeah,
wants.
that's right
to
You're
take a
welcome,
look at it,
Catherine. Draft.
it'll be available.
There, it's stamped.
Stamped. All right, folks. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Sorry.
There we go. We got our stuff tangled up here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Where does this chair go? Back in here?
Yeah, just slide them back and that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, COVID updates. Item E under old
Wait,
business.
wait,
Uh,
we didn't do we didn't do reopening strategies or discuss an act on scheduling of the informational hearing? A, B,
Okay, I jumped ahead of myself again.
Again,
I think we talked about reopening strategies, but we did not do schedule a public hearing. And I would think the only thing we have to do is reiterate what we decided at our last meeting prior to this.
Yeah,
that-
Catherine, was there something you wanted to do in terms of just kind of informing the
The public?
folks who maybe not
Attendees
weren't
here.
able to attend the?
Yeah, what I
the
did
meeting?
do is before this meeting started, I apologized to Janet and Paul because they were on and just said, due to a password issue, the public from Ashford were not able to attend our special meeting that occurred at 6:30 tonight with the Wellington Board of Selectmen and a number of people from Wellington. So what is good is that what I'm going to propose in a minute is that we want to hold a public hearing to gather, to inform the public about the Cattle Rock property and what we're looking at to do going forward, and to gather input from the public about potential uses for that property. So while they couldn't attend the meeting at 6:30 tonight, what the public can do is attend the public hearing that we want to hold. And that, if I understand correctly, that we will have, not only will we as laymen and the public as laymen be able to speak on it, but they will also have I'm going to say a group that's an expert on it, on handling those kinds of properties and coming up with ideas for their uses at that public hearing. Because just putting it out to the public without any guidance at all is going to kind of create some confusion.
Mhm.
And and the whole point behind this is that we need to have some kind of a definition of what we anticipate roughly could be the use for that property in order for us to submit an application for state funds for the remediation of the property, which will do the final cleanup on it.
And that would be the purpose of this meeting, is to provide that.
The public informational hearing. So
So
based
what would-
upon that, I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen schedule a public informational hearing concerning the Cattle Rock property for September 8th. I don't know what time, September 8th at 7
6:30
PM.
last
6:30?
We,
For-
in our motion that we've made already at our prior meeting, was September 8th at 6:30 for a site to be defined tomorrow.
Excellent. That would be the rest of the motion,
And it's going to be a hybrid meeting.
a hybrid meeting. Okay. So do you want me to restate all of that?
No,
I don't think you have to. That's going to be
Good.
stated in our minutes from the last meeting, but just reiterating that, I think it's fine.
so move.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
you're a second. I made the movement, the motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous, thank you. Okay, I did touch on the Ashford School Building Committee. They're going to be meeting sometime after the start of school, but they are working with the new superintendent or acting superintendent closely on the, particularly right now on the oil tank replacement and the roof replacement. All right, item D, we
You
took
done?
care of. Item E is COVID update. I continue to send out our reports that we're getting from Eastern Highland. There was a slight tick up in numbers of cases over the past 2 weeks. In Ashford, there was a decrease in hospitalizations. We continue to remain in the low category.
I expect that we're probably going to have another uptick now that school has started.
Probably.
Very, very
away we go.
possible. The one other thing that I noted, I know when I sent out my email on Friday, was CDC has just refined or called back on people who were exposed actually going into quarantine.
Mhm.
They're no longer requiring or recommending that. It's individual choice. And I've had staff ask me, and I said, the only thing that I'm comfortable with is referring you to your primary care physician.
Mm.
Go with their recommendations. They know health histories, they know that. I don't think as a public official, I'm going to give them, unless I get specific guidelines from CDC, I'd rather hear from their own doctors, so.
Is our staff concerned about COVID being brought in again into the town offices?
Not really. Well, we're all concerned, but, and that's why we continue to monitor the Eastern Highland reports to track it. But the impression I get from not only staff, but the general public, and I've heard from even a couple of practicing doctors, is that this has gone to the stage, they're even calling it now the COVID cold.
Mm.
That it seems like eventually we're all gonna get it. And thank goodness.
Well, I
it's
hope
in
not.
Much less terms of severity, but sniffles and that, but it's no time.
I hope not. We have elderly that I don't think it would be treated as a cold.
Well, unfortunately, our president, who had both of his shots and double boosters, has had it for the third time now.
I'm not talking about him.
I know.
So, okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick item E is update on the ARPA. One of the best news that I have to share with you is we went to Hending, who's the contractor for the pickleball. And I don't have the cost in front of me, but their original bid was 24,000 and change. And their bid, after we told them we got approval, came back with just under 28. I spoke with the owner, corresponded with the whole staff, told them we got approval Monday night for 25, and that we were sincerely hoping to get it done this season. The owner sent me back an email, said he will go with the 25, which is what we approved at town meeting. They anticipate starting the project on September 15th and ending it by September 30th.
Very good.
I think that's worked out great.
Are there any other
Well-
approved ARPA projects that we've started?
The mini split units, we appropriate for the Knowlton Hall. We appropriate town meeting 90,000. They've come back to us with 93,000 increase in cost and material and equipment. I've got to call into the owner to see if that is negotiable at all. Let's see what else here.
Did they give a timetable at all before?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
All right, the other things we're still making calls on and asking, we've talked to the fire department about their 3 items. Paul is working on that, firming up on updated proposals. And what he's going to do is turn those over to us. And I said I would contact each of the vendors if they're going over what our budget and see what we could do. The school bus, as you know, we appropriated 115, got approval at town meeting, but Chris went back to the vendor and they're at 116, but they're going to do their best to sharpen their pencil to come in at our dollar amount. And we should hear from them before the end of the week. Everything else is still kind of in order. We did pay our NECOG dues that was approved. And everything else we're kind of still working on.
I thought we paid our NECOG dues before.
It's an annual fee.
Okay.
Bill, it's Janet.
Yes.
I
Hi,
couldn't
Janet.
get my mouse to work to turn it on sooner. I just wanted to thank you for the pickleball court, and all the players will be really pleased. And we figured the court would be closed for months, so it's nice that it will only take half
I
a
was
month.
very pleasantly surprised, and he told me he really meant it, because I was a bit surprised when he came back to me with those dates. So, yeah, spread the word.
I will. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. All right, next item G, discuss an act on acceptance of the Savage Systems proposed to provide IT services. I sent you all both the last iteration. The school has signed off. I got a copy, and I believe I included that in your packages that the superintendent signed off on a 3-year deal with the understanding that if they chose to extend that to 5 within the first year of the contract, that they would do that and hold the rates. The
They committed to going to a 5-year deal during the year.
They haven't committed to that yet, but they have the
Okay, good.
option during the first year of the
Right.
3-year contract they've committed to. Savage has said that they would extend it at the same terms and conditions.
Exactly. Savage has extended that. The,
Right.
did they also agree on the new language that was put in the contract?
The Board of Ed, yes.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was the new language that they saw in the contract
The new language they saw, they all got the
that
same.
protects them and the
same
town.
one. It,
Yeah.
everybody was satisfied that, including our council. And the final iteration was negotiated between the schools council and Savage.
And the school's already signed off on it?
They signed off on it.
Okay.
So before we have any more discussion, I make a motion that we approve the Savage Systems contract for 3 years.
So moved? Second.
There's a second. Is
Second.
there any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much, folks. Item H, reconsider of the revised short sale proposal for housing rehab project 2010-02.
Wait, where are you?
H, under old business.
I don't have H on the agenda. It ends with G,
Yep, I've got it.
discuss
on
an
mine.
act on acceptance, and then we go to new business, appointment of Ray Stovall.
Yep,
I believe
I-
the one that's on the webpage.
That's the one I
shows an H,
have.
And you don't show an H? Because
Nope.
that's where mine came from.
yeah,
And yours shows an H?
I got an
I'm gonna do a quick double check because I don't think that's out there.
While you're checking, Catherine, I gotta step away and get a drink of soda. Be right back.
Okay, so-
Nope, H is out there.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bill H is out there. I don't think we received it in an email. Okay,
This is at our last meeting, we discussed the request for a waiver.
Mhm.
And we had a written recommendation from our grant administrator for the small cities grant
Mhm.
to deny it.
Okay,
And I had brought up at that meeting that I thought we had made exceptions over the years prior.
Mhm.
Chris did a little research, went back 6 or 7 years, and there have been 3 different instances where we did grant the waiver. And
I'll make the motion for the purpose of discussing it.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion to approve the short sale proposal for the housing rehabilitation project for 2000. It says 2010 to 2002.
It's 2000.
Well, maybe that's the number of it.
Yeah, that's-
2010-02.
So there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Further discussion. We did receive correspondence from the requester's attorney. As you know, the last time they wanted us, they said that the town would get 3,000 back. Chris, I believe it was, the lien was for 24,000.
$24,670.
And they're coming back saying that they'll go with the 6,000, or the bank will, without starting the foreclosure.
Did we receive something about this to look at? Any of the
This is a
communication?
Fannie Mae loan. The only thing I got, and Chris just handed it to me, is an email from Community Consulting, which is our vendor. And a letter from our vendor, from our administrator, also recommending that we do not set a bad precedent by acknowledging this,
But we already have a precedence.
but we have a precedent.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if we have a precedent, if it's not a good idea. So
I-
I know that I'm not in favor of approving it.
Well, again, I mean, stop me, if the house goes into foreclosure, where are we in the pecking order of getting our,
We lose it totally.
we would lose the $26,000 for 20.
Well,
Right.
or whatever, if we take the settlement, whatever that amount is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if we don't act on this,
It would be a
the house,
lose-lose.
the house goes into foreclosure and
by
the
Fannie
bank will
Mae.
get their money.
That's
and-
my understanding, Raj.
Okay.
But we were advised, again, remind me of who advised us that this was not a good idea.
Megan Burnell, who works for Community Consulting.
But she did it on the grounds that it would be set up a bad precedence, and you're saying we already have
And
precedents?
Her predecessor is Megan worked for Peter Sanborn? Or just the company? Peter Huckins from Sanborn.
Oh, yeah, Peter is quite respected.
And Peter had made the recommendations, given the circumstances of the three cases that we found that previously we waived. He recommended to do that. Megan has a different concept of that.
And things change over time.
And just to remind everybody, the monies that we do realize when these are either paid off or there's a settlement, regenerate the fund for additional grants that may be considered.
Okay.
Goes back into the pool.
Okay.
And we're guaranteed that money?
Yes,
We're guaranteed the
And
6,000.
how much are we talking about in this case again?
6,000.
So we'll, of the 24, of the 24,000 approximately, we're gonna get a
Yeah.
quarter of it.
So if we were to approve this, that means that every time something gets foreclosed on like this, we would have this situation. We could have this situation.
Yeah, out of the literally, I mean, we started this program some 30 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know, we're talking hundreds of people. I wouldn't be surprised if it's hundreds now that have taken advantage of it. The people that do go into foreclosure under hardship or whatever are a very drastic low percentage of those numbers.
what is
and
our how does our tax collector feel about this? Is there anything from her quarter?
I have not asked her.
I would rather we heard from her about what her recommendation would be.
When was the last time we did one of these? Do you recall?
When?
In the spring?
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's not like it's ancient history either.
W-
Again, I
when
just,
was it? When was it?
I think we did something in the spring.
If we did something in the spring, why didn't we hear about this being a concern?
Well, we're looking right now. Now, somebody was saying, you were talking earlier that Fannie Mae only gives a maximum of up to $6,000. Yeah, we did, we got one here that we did in February. And that was,
And we got $6,000 from that?
no, I
No.
don't know. We got
I
a,
don't recall.
yeah, it's signed.
I think the amounts are based on a case by case. I don't think.
Yeah,
You've got 6,000.
Who decides the amount?
and this-
well, I think what happens is Fannie Mae limits the maximum amount. If it's a
Okay.
Fannie Mae loan. Okay, we did a deed from Walt to the town, original amount of 75 and recorded records.
and you took 6,000
Yep.
because there was no money left in the estate.
Okay.
to pay the whole thing.
All right, so we in this case, it was only a $7,500 balance, and we took the 6,000 against the 7,500. Now it
Okay.
looks like you're asking 6,000 against 24,500.
And that's because we believe that the Fannie Mae thing, the limitation is
Yeah,
6,000.
the limit to $6,000.
And again, Bill, you're saying we don't have many of these, or we do?
We do
Potential
not.
for.
We do not.
And where does the property end up in the end? Refresh my memory.
They're doing a short sale on it. We're not told who it's being sold to, but
The
Okay.
bank.
Well, the
bank-
bank
the bank.
takes it. We'll get $6,000. But if it goes into foreclosure, then we get nothing.
Okay,
are we ready for a vote? All
I
in
am.
favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. It's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
yeah, at least we got, talked it through and got information.
Yeah. I know I said at the last meeting that we had approved a couple, but I don't remember that in February.
I have
I
a-
just,
I don't, I vaguely remember it.
I have a vague- I have a
Actually,
vague-
now that you talk about the amounts, they tend to
Yeah.
stick in your head.
okay, new business. Appointment of Ray Stovall to serve as deputy fire marshal is recommended by Charles Sweetland, Ashford Fire Marshal. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second it.
Is there any
Who
discussion?
is Ray Stovall? I'm sorry, I don't. know who
Ray
that is.
Stoll is he's works, I think he's over in Summers,
Oh,
fire
he doesn't live in town?
but he works on our day crew,
He's paid staff.
paid staff, day crew.
Okay, and so the payment for the deputy fire marshal is, refresh my memory, how much is that?
I
Does
don't,
this in any way conflict with the time that he puts in as a paid employee?
I don't think so, no.
No,
Salary, $500 a year.
It's only salary,
It's-
$500 a
he
year.
gets, for this position, he gets 500 a year.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how many times a year.
He's
Yeah.
also got extensive credentials.
Yeah, he's got all the certificates.
Okay, we already have the motion in the second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks. Item B, under new business, act on approval of the use of town of Ashford roadways for the running of the 2022 Nipmunk Trail Marathon.
I'll make that
Yeah.
motion for purpose of discussion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion, we have the insurance certificate we need. Paperwork's all in order. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I think it's a really
Hey, Bill?
nice event. I think it's a really
Bill?
nice event to have come to our town.
Paul?
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
What roads are they using? And is it Perry Hill Road again?
Yes,
Okay, do they have a stipulation in there about parking on that road? Because that has been a problem in the past.
up there
Good
near,
point.
up there near,
Yeah, near the entry to the trail, they block both
It's right
sides
near,
of the
it's right where
road.
Lips, it's right where
Right,
Lips Road
where Lips
is.
Road is. That's my only concern because I can't get a fire truck through there. The people we can make move, but the cars I can't. So there's been times where we can't get an emergency vehicle through that if we needed to.
Do we need to have them park further off the road somehow?
Really, yes, and also maybe not on both sides of the road in all places because they can't get off the road far enough in places.
Bill,
So
can we, Bill, can we stipulate to them that they need to park on one side of the road only?
absolutely.
Hmm.
I've been through that a couple of times. It's been pretty tight.
right,
Yeah, it's near where I
We'll
live,
do
so I
that,
go by
Paul.
them all the time.
We'll do that,
yeah,
chief.
right. That's my only concern with that is that situation. Plus, I mean, I wish they'd pay more attention when they cross the street, but I can't fix that.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
No problem.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye, and Bill, I'm assuming you're gonna follow up with them about, in writing or something about parking on one side of the road?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, it's item C. If I remember right, Catherine, you would ask, not sure this was the language you're looking for, but you would ask for an item to discuss town employees' safety.
Yes, fire drills and active shooter drills.
That's what I thought. I think Chris had another thought of that, but I will be coordinating a unannounced fire drill in the building within the next 30 days.
Okay, so do you
I wanna
have,
coordinate
everybody
that
has,
with-
yeah, everybody has the information about what they're supposed to do during that? Because I don't know that they do.
If I could just finish, what I intend on doing is meeting with the fire marshal and consulting with the fire chief and ask for staging areas and recommendations on exits from the building before that fire drill is actually conducted.
So when you do that, you will be informing the employees as to what the proper fire drill procedure is in terms of where they're supposed to go, et cetera.
My intention is prior to the fire drill to send out a memo and say everybody on the ground floor is to exit the building, providing the fire marshal and fire chief agree, are asked to exit the building at this exit. All those on the main level, please exit this and go to this area. It's what we did on all of our state buildings, same procedure.
So if I
Prior
understand
to
correctly, if I understand correctly, in the town clerk's office, they have certain things they're supposed to do before they exit, which is, for example, close the vault. And all doors should probably be closed. You know, office doors, whatever, because it prevents, it retards the spread of whatever it is for a short period of time, 20 minutes to whatever. So
but again,
those are the things I think that they need to know.
Mhm.
Another thing that you need to do, when I was in town offices the other day, I checked. The fire extinguishers are supposed to be checked every month and signed off on as to, you know, check to make sure that they're working. It's on the tag for all the fire extinguishers on the 3 floors. I know I was doing that as for selectmen, so you need to make sure that procedure is in place.
One of the things that we talked about, and I'd be interested in getting Paul's input on this. In state buildings, the last 3 years I was there, we had all extinguishers in the hallways and that removed from our premises. State fire marshal went along with it. And the theory was we had an office as a judicial branch office in Manchester a number of years ago, and we had a volunteer fire department gentleman. We had a data room fire, and he went in with an extinguisher to fight the fire,
an appropriate extinguisher.
and it almost killed him. He ended up in intensive unit for several weeks and long recovery. And the general theory became, we want occupants out of the building to exit the building and leave fighting fires up to the professionals. Any
Those
thoughts on
fire
that, Paul?
extinguishers would not be of any value to the professionals coming in.
Any thought on that, Paul?
Yeah, Paul?
And, well, a couple thoughts. That's the Bill's scenario is a danger with having volunteer firefighters work in buildings because our
Yeah.
instinct is to go chase it, not to run. So that's gonna happen no matter what, even if the extinguisher wasn't there. The extinguishers, the idea of those, and you'd have to talk to Charlie because there's some code compliance things that I can't answer.
Yeah,
The idea is if you had let's say a trash can fire, et cetera. But to answer Catherine's question, that I'm not going for an extinguisher. I'm not gonna even walk in the building if there's a known issue with anything but a fire hose. So I'm not gonna use an extinguisher when I walk in. If I do use an extinguisher, it will be one that comes off of one of my pieces of apparatus that's substantially bigger than that. So,
and reliable. The,
yeah, so-
Bill, the thing was when the state came in and did an assessment of our public works, I'm trying to remember the group and the label escapes me for the moment. Where they came in, they looked at our public works safety practices. Also, bear with me. They looked at 3 different things. And one of them was public works, and an aspect of that or whatever was our transfer station for safety. And they pointed out they had considered doing the town office building.
This was OSHA? Was this the OSHA?
OSHA, when OSHA came in, and they were the ones that told me that we needed to make sure that at least the fire extinguishers that are there, we would have been cited. So it's whether they are taken out, if that conforms to whatever our insurance requires or code or whatever, that's all well and fine, but for the one, while they're there, they need to be checked every month to make sure that they're functional. And it's an easy check.
Okay, so my intention is to meet with Charlie and Paul if he has the time and go over and Chris just showed me there are diagrams for exiting of the building that are already made up. Share those with him, see if we need updates. But then within the next 30 days at the longest, after giving people reminders of where they're to exit the building, doing a fire drill.
Yep.
I put a call in for Joe Hayward with the state fire police about doing active shooter drill. I've not heard back from him yet. But we'll
Will we
follow up
begin-
on that and I'll report back at our next meeting on that, Catherine.
I was gonna say, we should probably also take into account whether it's done at the same time or not, Knowlton and our senior center for fire drills.
Yeah, I doubt if we're gonna.
I'm more
do the-
concerned about Knowlton, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
If there's some kind of a problem in there.
Okay, item D, act upon request received from the Sustainable Connecticut to adopt the following resolution. I believe you folks have it. Do I have let's make a motion on this, and I don't know if Janet wants to tune in on this or not, but can I have a motion for consideration of that?
I'll make the motion to consider.
I'll second that.
There's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded.
And that
time-
motion, actually, that
Janet?
motion, you're saying that motion is to consider it. I think it's a motion friendly amendment that it would be to adopt it or to
Okay.
approve it, adopt it.
Okay,
I'll second that.
Janet, any comment?
And Loretta might want to say something. This
Loretta,
was
I'm sorry.
this had been adopted by the Board of Selectmen, sustainable in the past. I can't remember the date. Maybe Loretta knows.
2019.
Okay, the Sustainable Connecticut application only allows us to go back 3 years on this, so we need to have it adopted again in order to submit it. And I don't, anything else, Loretta, you wanted to say?
I think it's just a, statement that we are aware that we need to keep updating on what's happening with our vehicles and try and choose vehicles which are in line with being as user-friendly as possible to the environment and to the town in terms of cost. And to stay aware and tuned into any grants that are available that we can get better deals with. I know the state has a lot of those things, and usually clean energy is pretty good at, looking for things and finding things. So I don't think it's doing anything different than what we do. It's just making a statement that we're committed to this approach.
I know there was some fine tweaking that you folks did
Right.
From the last one, but I think it's a good idea. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion on the floor, signify by saying aye.
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 And
Unanimous.
thank you. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you, Janet. Thank you to the whole group for the work that you're doing on Sustainable Connecticut.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right.
I would like to thank the town.
You're breaking up, Janet.
Workers.
We're losing you, Janet.
I just like to say, I'd like to thank the town office. Huh? Can you hear
I
me?
think Janet is just saying
Can
that
you hear me
she's
now?
wanting
Yeah,
to
we can
thank
hear
the
her now. We
town.
can hear her now. We can hear her.
Oh, I just wanted to thank the town office workers because I know everyone's, under pressure and they've been very cooperative with us in getting information that we've requested.
Well,
Yes, and
we
I
very much-
second that because this application is way more intense than the last one was. And so we're actually requiring a lot more from the town employees. And I know this isn't the easiest time to be doing that. So thank you for bearing with us and working it out with us.
Well, thank you, and we appreciate your diligence that all you folks have been doing for the cause. So thank you very much. Did we vote on that motion?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you. Commission and board appointments, Commission on Aging. I don't believe we have anybody we're recommending. We'd like to acknowledge the passing of Gary Lawrence. Obviously a gentleman who served this town for many years in a number of different capacities, and our condolences are to his family, and appreciate the sacrifice that they made to let Gary do the work that he was doing for the towns. Also like to acknowledge the resignation of Richard Williams from the Economic Development Commission effective August 5th. Dick served in that capacity, I believe, from the time that that commission was initiated, and we appreciate his service, long service to our community, and we wish him the best. And those are going to be, we'll be looking at recommendations for replacement positions for both of those positions. And our last, for the Recreation Commission, fill a vacant seat created by the resignation of regular commission member Sandra Moquin. And the term associated with Moquin's seat expires April 1st of 26. Unless I'm mistaken, I believe we're going to have a recommendation come from the rec department to move up our newly appointed alternative, Dave Raston, to that position, but we'll wait till we get that motion from them before I suggest we take any action. All right, tax refunds.
Bill, excuse me, Bill,
Yeah,
could I just add to, when you were talking about Gary Lawrence, can I just add and say, when we were working a couple years ago on Forest Legacy, he was very helpful with dealing with people who didn't know how to fill out applications. And because he knew so much about land, he would help people, and he offered to do that and called several people and helped us get that application in and get it completed. So I just want to acknowledge that there are many ways that he helped out, but that was something which a lot of people might not know about.
I agree. I agree. Thank you. We have two tax refunds, one for Michelle Williams in the amount of $7,474.91.
It was paid twice.
It was paid twice.
That was generous of
God love them.
her.
Yeah. And also for Gary Glenn in the amount of $547.75. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying, oh, aye.
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 Unanimous. Remarks for the good of the board. Just like to thank you all for your participation in the town meeting the other night. I thought it was very productive and informative. Item H, items for our next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Actually, what I'd like to do is propose that we have a, I don't know if it's a special Board of Selectmen meeting. It might require executive session to look at the roles and positions that we have for our staff, kind of with a focus on in our finance department and for our IT. You know, we talked about doing this before, and we really need to re-examine what's documented for these positions and make sure that we've done the proper, whether it's separation of duties or making sure that we've laid out what would be the most effective way to divvy up the work and make sure that it's documented
I
for
think
the
that's
positions. Sorry?
I was just going to say, I think that's an excellent idea, Catherine,
Okay, and I think that it would be a working session with,
and very timely. Were you in on the little seminar, the FOI seminar that we had?
actually, my husband and I are looking at the recording because we were on vacation.
Okay, when you look at that, along the lines of what you're just talking about, I was interested because my impression of what that gentleman, his name escapes me right now, said was that if the board was to meet to do exactly what you were saying, that we can meet as a working session
Ah.
without posting an agenda and all that stuff. But listen to that. I mean, it's a good idea
I
whether we
will.
do it formally or not, but it was an interesting aspect that I wasn't aware of.
So we have two options. We have, it sounds like we'll take a look at that. We have the option of doing it that way. We have the option of doing it as a selectman meeting of some kind.
That's correct.
So I'd like us to get to work on that because there's certainly work that needs to be done.
We got a bit of a full plate in the next 2 weeks, but let's see if we can work something in.
Okay, great.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Any more discussion? I've got 8:31. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you for joining us, audience.
thank you.
And